Too close to call. That is the news Australians are waking up to this morning as the federal election result comes down to the wire. The nation is now facing the prospect of another hung parliament after a pronounced swing away from the coalition. Both the Prime Minister and opposition leader are confident that they have the momentum to get them over the line. Let's go live to Parliament House, and our political reporter Matt Doran joins us now. Matt, obviously a very late night last night as counting continued. It is just too close to call. How many seats are still in doubt?
There's quite a swathe of seats right across the country that are still in doubt by our projections. Looking at those sort of two-party preferred predictions there, a number of them still too close to call, and we won't get any closer to figuring out exactly where they may fall until the vote count resumes in the coming days. To walk you through some of those seats, you've got seats in Queensland such as Capricornia, which is centred around Rockhampton, currently held by the LNP. We've got Dixon, which is the Brisbane seat, currently held by the Immigration Minister Peter Dutton, the seat of Ford. Herbert up in Townsville. There's also, if we go further south into New South Wales, seats such as Gilmore, which is on the mid-coast here, centred around places like Nowra in New South Wales. Further south again into Victoria, seats like Latrobe and Dunkley. Dunkley, of course, formerly represented by the former Small Business Minister Bruce Bilson. Over into South Australia, the seat of Hindmarsh is still in doubt, with a swing back to the former sitting member, Labor's Steve Georganas, from the current sitting member, the Liberals' Matt Williams. And over in the west, the seat of Cowan is still up for grabs there, with some of those results coming in a bit later, of course, with polling booths closing there 2 hours after the East Coast. So a number of seats that do look like they are still too close to call, and we won't hear much more about those until the vote count starts in the coming days.
And we do have the losses that the coalition has suffered. Certainly a very bad result for them in Tasmania.
Yeah, that's right. All of northern Tasmania has now turned a shade of red. The seats of Bass, Braddon and Lyons were held by three Liberal MPs. They were commonly dubbed the Three Amigos in the halls of power here. That is Eric Hutchison, Andrew Nikolic and Brett Whiteley, who was representing Braddon. All three of them have lost their seats in a significant swing back to the Labor Party in Tasmania. We've also seen the Nick Xenophon team pick up their very first seat in the lower house. Rebecca Sharkey knocking off the former Minister Jamie Briggs in the blue ribbon Liberal seat of Mayo in the Adelaide Hills, and the Nick Xenophon team taking a significant amount of support in one or two other seats in South Australia. Up in Darwin, the Country Liberal Party's Natasha Griggs has lost her seat of Solomon, and we've also seen losses in Eden Monero, formerly a bellwether seat. That's the seat that currently envelops all of the ACT. Whether or not that will retain its bellwether status, we'll have to wait and see as negotiations continue over the next few days. Longman up in Queensland, currently held by, or formerly held by the LNP's Wyatt Roy, and of course a member of Malcolm Turnbull's ministry there. And interesting to note, in Western Sydney, which is a key battleground, we've been hearing much about the fight there. The seats of Lindsay, Macquarie and Macarthur, all given plenty of attention by both Malcolm Turnbull and Bill Shorten throughout this campaign. They too appear to have been lost by the Liberals to the opposition.
OK, Matt, now, for anyone watching last night, well into the evening and into the early hours of this morning, in fact, they had to wait quite some time until the Prime Minister actually made his appearance. Now, obviously, he couldn't claim victory, though he was quite upbeat, saying that he expected to form a majority government. He was also very critical of the Labor Party campaign.
That's right. He, of course, with 67 apiece, you wouldn't want to start conceding defeat just yet. But Malcolm Turnbull quickly turned onto the attack onto an issue which he sees as a Labor Party campaign. The Labor Party would not be putting their hands up to this one. But a number of text messages were sent around yesterday morning purporting to be from Medicare. And I know a number of journalists here in the Canberra Press Gallery indeed got these text messages saying that a coalition government would privatise Medicare. Now, Malcolm Turnbull quite scathing in his rebuke of these tactics. Here's some of what he had to say last night.
Telling vulnerable Australians that Medicare was going to be privatised or sold frightening people, Naved. And even today, as voters went to the polls, as you would have seen in the press, there were text messages being sent to thousands of people across Australia saying that Medicare was about to be privatised by the Liberal Party, and the SMS message came from Medicare. It said it came from Medicare. An extraordinary act of dishonesty. No doubt the police will investigate.
Now, Matt, so the Prime Minister remains confident, or at least that's what he's saying, that he could still form a majority government. It is going to be quite some time before we have those results because, as we understand it, counting will not resume until Tuesday.
Yeah, that's right. And on top of that, there will also be adding into the mix all of the pre-poll declaration votes and the postal votes, which weren't thrown into the mix last night. And we saw a significant number of those pre-poll votes, up some 50% from the 2013 election. Some numbers suggesting that up to 3 million Australians could have already cast their ballots before polling booths opened at 8 o'clock yesterday morning. So throw those into the mix, and particularly with this significant number of seats that are still counted as too close to call, and we will be waiting a number of days to see exactly the makeup of the 45th Parliament here in Canberra.
OK, Matt Doran, thanks very much. We will, of course, come back to Matt at Parliament House throughout the morning.